The Sportscaster and Her Son is brought to you by Foot First Podiatry. Painful bunions? Then it's time to get your bunion fixed with Foot First Podiatry's exclusive Sklar bunionectomy. No scars, no cast, no crutches, no kidding. For more information about the Sklar bunionectomy, visit footfirst.com. And by Electroflex, a global leader in electrical conduit for over 60 years, makers of Liquidite flexible conduit, electrically connecting our world. Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Sportscaster and Her Son, where sports bridges the gap between the generations. I'm your host, Peggy Kaczynski, 12-time Emmy Award-winning sportscaster at NBC Chicago for 17 years. Yes, I'm the baby boomer.
And I am Jason Commander, freshman at UT Austin, Generation Z. I am a writer for CBB Review, on-air talent for TSTV Sports, and I have recently joined Tally Site Sports, where you can track my betting predictions all March Madness.
Ooh, I love it. Not bad for a UT Austin freshman. Hey, we want to thank everyone who has downloaded the Sportscaster and Her Son from Apple, Podbean, or wherever you might be listening. Please continue to do so and spread the word to family and friends. Download, subscribe, rate us. Those are the three key words for us. It's our lifeblood with podcasts. Ratings, it's actually, how you kind of move up and more people can find you. We'd like to say we don't always get along, but we both share a passion for sports. And so we do talk a lot of sports, and it does bridge the gap between us. So, Jason, in this episode, we are going to talk about your favorite topic, and it's not the White Sox, it's college basketball tournament time. We didn't have it last year. Guess what? It is back. Your favorite time of the year.
Certainly is. I always get so excited around this time of the year. This time it's even more special knowing that we've all waited 2 years to get here. I'm very lucky to say that my school is going to be a high seed. This is something that's very weird for me. I grew up as a TCU basketball fan, so I'm used to watching March Madness with no biases. So this year will definitely be very, very different in that sense. But I'm just so excited for it. Once March 1st hit, my focus sort of shifted from any sport to just college basketball. And this week has been conference tournament week. Next week is when March Madness tips off, and it's the best time of the year. You just feel it in the air. Everyone's so happy. Everyone's so excited. The nervous energy. Just love every little bit of it.
Do you think we're going to enjoy it more because we didn't have it last year?
Well, yes. Just straight up, yes. Absolutely. This is what I call a sacred time of the year. It's my I would say I like the opening day of the first round, the round of 64. I would put up a pretty solid argument that I love that day more than I love Christmas. Not even kidding. I think that the field is going to be incredible this year. The setting, considering the fact that it's all in Indiana, is going to be the perfect storm for plenty of upsets. Aside from Gonzaga and Baylor, once you get past those two teams, it's a very balanced pool. So we could see a complete mixed bag in the Final Four and in the Elite Eight and in the Sweet 16. It just feels so good. I can't say enough about it. It feels so good to hear all of the terms associated with March Madness again, Cinderellas and upsets and all the seeds and Final Four and et cetera and et cetera. It's such an exciting and just amazing time of the year. I love every single bit of it.
So you kind of called it a couple of weeks ago when you said it's going to be Baylor and Gonzaga 1 and 2 all year. And sure enough, that's what's happening. But here in Illinois, the Illini have really made some noise this year. How do you think they're going to do?
Well, it doesn't take a very smart or well-versed person in the college basketball world to think that the Illini are going to do pretty well, especially considering that up until Saturday, they spent just about 2 weeks without their superstar point guard, Ayo Dosunmu, and still beat Michigan. So I think that the Illini are going to do very well, but the big talk surrounding this tournament has been that because of no travel because of the sort of weird tournament setting. It's not like recent years where you win 2 games in the region and then move on to a different city. You're going to be in the same location. A lot of very well-educated people in the college basketball world think that means a lot of upsets. And this is an Illinois team that has gotten very hot at the right time. The one knock against this Illinois team is that you could put up a very good argument that the only team that can beat Illinois is Illinois themselves. And the evidence for that argument could be the fact that they barely beat Ohio University earlier this season. Oh. And Ohio University ended up finishing towards the bottom half of the MAC conference. The Illini have had close games with Northwestern, which they ultimately ended up blowing them out. But the fact that they were even close with Northwestern to begin with was a little bit startling. They had a close game with Nebraska recently. So the Illini do play teams close. They didn't play Michigan close last week, but they do play teams close. And in a tournament setting, that doesn't necessarily bode well, because what happens if Io DeSumo goes out with 5 fouls or if Kofi Coburn goes out with 5 fouls? The Illini are such a top-heavy team to where their 2 superstar players will literally determine how far this team goes, which is a very dangerous mentality to have in March.
You know, speaking of the Illini, everyone keeps comparing them to the Flying Illini. The Flying Illini. 20 years ago, it's like they've forgotten about 2005 and what Illinois did in 2005, a team that went 29-0 at one point, won the Big Ten title with just 1 loss, took the Big Ten tournament title, went all the way to the national championship game, only to lose to North Carolina by 5. 37-2 that year. Sports Illustrated called them the best team ever not to win a national title. I mean, that team was pretty phenomenal. I know you don't know that team, Jason, but what are we talking about in comparison to the 2020-2021 squad?
Well, first off, I do know that team. Darren Williams and D. Brown, one of the best 1-2 combos in the 2000s in college basketball. The team's phenomenal. And if you talk to an Illini fan about that season, you're not going to have a very positive conversation, because all you're going to hear is how BS that loss was, considering that UNC's players either didn't know how to read or weren't taking classes, and all of the controversies surrounding UNC. But besides the point, that team was excellent. This team, on paper, maybe not as strong. The star power is similar, though. The way that 2005 Illini team was built, they were built around Williams and Brown. This Illini team is built around DeSumo and Coburn. So the one thing that is going to separate between the 15 years these two teams is the level of competition. 2005, the Illini and North Carolina were the 2 favorites. That national championship game, the matchup did not surprise anyone. This year, if the national championship game is anything other than Gonzaga versus Baylor, it would be a colossal surprise. It'd be massive, because Gonzaga and Baylor are so obviously the 2 best teams in the country. So on paper, the teams are similarly built with the star power, obviously a little bit different with Coburn being a big presence down low. That maybe is what the Illini lacked in 2005, was the presence down low. But what the Illini lack this year in comparison to 2005 is the depth of the 2005 Illini team. This Illini team can go 7 deep, maybe 8, but depth has been a concern. Maybe not when they won against Michigan without Io, but in total, depth might be a little bit of a concern, especially at the guard position. Adam Miller has struggled mightily at times. He's made some big plays and put up some big numbers, but since conference play began, Adam Miller's play has significantly dropped off. Andre Curbelo, another freshman guard, has been very good, but I don't know how I feel about Andre Curbelo playing a major role in a Sweet 16 or Elite 8 game. So like I said earlier, it's going to come down to Io or Kofi. But to answer the ultimate question, I think this Illini team is Final Four bound. I really do. And until they run into Gonzaga or Baylor, I'm not going to pick against them.
Jason, I know exactly who we can talk to. We can talk Gonzaga basketball, and we can talk Illini. I know who we should call. Should we do it?
Let's do it.
Okay. Jason, I told you I had the perfect person. I know exactly who to call so that we could talk not only about Gonzaga, but also about the Illini and the 2005 squad. How about an assistant coach from the Bulldogs and a member of the 2005 Illinois squad? It's the Rev. Roger Powell Jr. is joining us. We don't call you Rev anymore. We call you Coach now. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Some people still call me Rev, though. Actually,
they do.
if they're from Illinois, yeah, that's kind of that never changed. But yeah, I'm getting used to being called Coach. It's been 10 years now, and I guess that title has kind of grown on me also.
What an incredible career path you have taken. When I texted you, I was like, oh my gosh, it feels like yesterday when I drove to Joliet and did the story on you in 2005 as a minister and your church and your parents and your hometown. And since then, wow, you have had some pretty great career stops and coaching from Valpo to Vandy, and now with Mark Few at Gonzaga. You certainly have been blessed, haven't you?
Man, it's been incredible just seeing what God has done with my life. Obviously, after that crazy year at Illinois in '05 when we were 29-0 and lost to Ohio State in the last regular season game, and then playing in the national championship game, and then coming here, fast forward like 16 years, I'm on a team that's 26-0. We didn't lose any regular season games, and now we're, making a run to win a national championship. And you just look at everything in between. I just step back and say, wow, never did I realize, when I'm 38 years old, not only would I be coaching number one team in the country, trying to win a national championship as a coach, but also have 4 kids, two kids, one and under. Is just, it's been fascinating. It's been fascinating.
Well, Roger, I don't know if you know, but Jason, my co-host here, he's a twin. And 18 years ago, I was in that position with 2 babies. I have 3 total. And so I can understand that your off days are not really off days. It just means you don't go into the office. It means that you're working at home, taking care of the kids, helping your wife with the kids.
Absolutely.
I love it.
You may hear a baby crying here in a little bit, so just heads up.
That is okay. So talking about the coaching, wow, with Mark Few, what an incredible job he has done. But you've been surrounded by some very, very good coaches, especially at the mid-major level. Can you talk about the influence of the coaches you have been coached by, as well as those you have worked with?
Well, kind of rewinding back to my last year of college, '05, I never really had a desire to coach. I really wanted to use basketball as a way to impact kids and to, share my faith and, just kind of be a mentor. So I played professionally for 6 years, and I was having a great career over in Europe. I had a short stint in the NBA with Utah Jazz, and my agent at the time was like, "Hey, man, you may have a chance to get back in the NBA." So I was kind of doing the training camp, preseasons, different NBA teams, and then going overseas and playing at a high level. And I never really had coaching on my heart, my mind. It was something that my wife said to me. She said, "You'd be a great coach in college," and I was like, "Babe, not for me. I'm gonna play basketball as long as I can, make a lot of money, and then, maybe have a ministry or, be a motivational speaker or, do something like that." Because while I was playing professional, I was doing a lot of speaking engagements and things like that. So I said to my wife, a place like Valparaiso would open up because I knew Bryce Drew, I knew Homer Drew, I knew kind of, it was a great mid-major program. It was a place where, I felt like there are morals and our character and just the purpose of coaching kind of aligned with my heart. So I made a statement. I said, if a place like Valparaiso University would open up, I would look about or inquire about what it would be like to coach there. Well, make a long story short, my last year playing in Germany, I was in my prime, 28. Bryce Drew at the time he knew he was going to take over for his dad because his dad was retiring and he was going to have a spot on his staff. And I knew his sister because her husband and I played against each other in Italy, and he was a great guy, Casey Shaw, who actually coached with us at Vanderbilt.
Let me just say right now, I went to middle school with Casey Shaw's kids.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well,
yes!
Casey introduced me to Bryce while I was playing.
Oh my gosh!
And it is nuts. So Bryce and I, this is after I told my wife if a place like Valparaiso opened up, I would coach there. I would stop playing and coach there. Just kind of throwing that statement out there, not really thinking it would happen because I knew I was in the middle of my playing career. And so Casey introduced me to Bryce Drew. We started talking on FaceTime, or actually back then with Skype, while I was in Germany. And little did I know, he was kind of building a relationship with me, almost interviewing me, seeing if I would be interested in, coaching. And when my season ended, I had some big contracts to go back overseas and play at a high level. My agent said that, some NBA teams are inquiring about me. He offers me a job. And I basically walk away from playing at 28, start coaching in college. And it was one of those things where I made a decision. I had faith that I believed that God was kind of leading me into that career path. And obviously it was a lot of less money. I was making a really good living playing overseas. So I had to take a quadruple, even more pay cut to go coach. And that was 10 years ago. And I haven't looked back since. And it was the best decision I ever made. It's something I absolutely loved doing. I really believe it was God's call in my life. I thought when I was in college I was going to be a pastor, but now I'm a coach of young men. And it's just been pretty cool that it's kind of turned into a very, very extremely high level of coaching. And I've had head coaching opportunities in college, which I never imagined that would happen. And here I am. So that was a long, short story to a lot of craziness in between.
That's incredible. It's just so ironic to me that the Shaw family was part of why you got into coaching, because I went to middle school with Isaiah Shaw, who's going to be playing at Grand Canyon next year for Bryce Drew, which is so crazy to me. But anyway, I'm going to cut to the point and ask the question that I'm wondering, and I'm sure a lot of listeners of this are going to be wondering. So obviously you went to U of I, you coach for Gonzaga.
Mm-hmm.
Both teams Gonzaga is absolutely going to be the top seed. Illinois, in all likelihood, will be a 1 seed. Tell me which of these two reasons are why you would want to play Illinois the least. Because it's a conflict of interest, because it's your alma mater, or because of the actual talent and capabilities of the Illinois basketball team?
Well, I'm going to answer this my way. I've always been a competitor, and I think the reason that, our 05 team was so good because we were built with a bunch of guys that wanted to compete. It didn't matter if we were in practice and, D Brown and I were on the same team and we were going against Darren and Luther and James. It didn't matter who it was. When we smelled blood, we were going to attack. And that's the reason I think our team was so good. So that's the cost I've been cut from. And I'm extremely happy for Illinois. And it makes my heart smile when I see the success they're having. And, I still have Illinois pajamas I wear. Don't tell anybody that. But I still wear my Illinois shorts, and whenever they're playing, I try to watch them, and but at the same time, I don't care who we're playing. If we're playing Illinois, Michigan, or wherever it is, I'm not thinking about any affiliation. I'm thinking about winning, and I think that's how you're able to cut the emotions and cheer for them when they're not playing against you. But when you're playing against them, it's business.
Back to our conversation with Roger Powell Jr. in just a moment. But first, have you ever dealt with bunions? I have. It got to the point that I couldn't even wear any shoes without having shooting pain. Even at night, I couldn't even pull the covers over my foot. It hurt so bad. It didn't matter if I was wearing slippers or boots, gym shoes working out, or heels for a night out. The pain was intolerable. I finally decided to do something about it. That's when I heard about Foot First Podiatry and their exclusive procedure, the Sklar bunionectomy. It has you on your feet the day after surgery. Are you kidding? Well, I had to see it to believe it. And you know what? They were right. Surgery was easy. I am so glad I did it. I walked out of surgery in a boot, no cast, no crutches, walking the same day. And you can be back in a gym shoe in 2 weeks. When I look at my foot now, there's no visual scar. And best of all, I am pain-free. So ladies and guys, don't walk around in pain like I did for years. Visit footfirst.com. And now back to our visit with Roger Powell Jr.
Do you think that the way that the tournament is structured this year, with the entire tournament being played in one state, do you agree with the notion that I've been seeing all week and all month of March long, that the way the tournament is set up is going to produce more upsets, even though your team, Gonzaga, just won in a tournament setting, ran the table and won the WCC championship? Do you think that the way the tournament is set up in Indianapolis and in Indiana, do you think that that's going to produce more upsets, or is it just business as usual, as if it was any other NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I think it's business as usual, but at the same time, I'm just happy that the NCAA and Coach Few was very instrumental in this, Coach, and some of the other, coaches. I know Coach Cal, and they were on this call, and they fought to make sure that we were playing basketball in March. And I'm just so thankful that we are. Last year when we were going to be a number one seed here at Gonzaga, and we were going to play our first two games here in Gonzaga. And when the cancellation of the NCAA tournament happened, it was devastating. When it was canceled, I was just like, oh my goodness, this is like almost the worst thing that could have happened. It stunk. Now, fast forward to this year with the way they've been able to put this together, upsets or no upsets, I think everyone is just happy to be playing. I think there's going to be excitement. I think the seasons and how, we play with no fans and how, our scheduling has had to kind of take a drastic change. I think that has prepared teams, especially us, for the NCAA tournament setup. So I'm not sure if it will make for more upsets, but I'm sure guys are going to be playing a lot harder. Guys are going to really appreciate the fact that, hey, we have an NCAA tournament and that we're playing basketball in March.
Roger, what's the lesson that you teach your players about 2005? I mean, you guys were number one all season, 29 straight wins at one point, and then the championship title game. The three kind of fell away from you guys. I know that you haven't forgotten it. I know you have probably thought about that game over and over and over. What's the lesson that you've learned that you try to impart on your kids now?
Well, I think it's like I mentioned earlier about, the competitive nature of our team that year, just in practice and the preparation. When you get to the moment, you're there. Next play mentality. That means embracing every moment. So those are things that I think I'm able to kind of implement just with our guys in practice, with the conversations we have with our guys. The moment is not as big as the preparation. The preparation is the most important thing you can have. And that's something that we talk about. That's something I try to instill. Just the energy in practice, the competitiveness in practice, attacking every drill as if it was, NCAA tournament game. I mean, these are things that I think are most important, because once you get there, you don't have time to really think about anything other than what's been instilled in you in the off season, in practice, in every, regular season game.
Well, and it doesn't hurt to have a flashy nickname, which you guys did not have the Flying Illini nickname. And that's why, Dick Vitale last week, when this year's Illinois squad is on national TV, kept referring to the Flying Illini. And everyone's like, what about 2005? What about 2005? You guys, everyone forgets about you guys. I don't know why.
I don't think so, man. Everywhere I go, people would say we were one of the best teams ever to play college basketball, and
true.
And I love the Flying Illini, but I look at what we were able to accomplish. I mean with that 29-0, losing your last regular season game, Ohio State, obviously. So 29-1 in the regular season, and then finishing the year, I think 37-2, and making all the way to the championship game. I think that alone is outstanding. I mean, and now being a coach and knowing how hard it is to do that.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I'm blessed and I'm in a situation where we may be able to do even better than that. Who knows? I think people have a high level of respect for what we did in '05. And I think people now have a high level of respect for what we're doing here at Gonzaga. And it's just pretty cool going from player to coach and kind of experiencing it from both perspectives.
I love it. And we just have two quick questions for you. Jason, I'm going to let you ask the last two before we wrap it up with Coach, because I know he's got a lot to do.
So I have a quick fun question and then one more to wrap it up. And I think I know the answer to the first question. But before I went on and did the podcast, I was texting some of my buddies back home because I know a ton of Illini fans. And they told me that you were the best dunker. Who do you think the best dunker on the current Gonzaga team is, and why?
I would say me. Yeah, no, I'm just joking. Now, if it was about 3 years ago, I could say me and I could back it up. I think my vertical's going down a little bit each year, but we have some pretty dynamic dunkers on this team. Jalen Suggs is crazy athletic. I mean, if you watch the game, you see some of the blocks he makes. I mean, that kid is crazy athletic. But Julian Strother is right there. I mean, he can really bounce up and he can make some crazy finishes in practice. And I think he's someone that we're going to have to, be on the lookout for, just kind of like as the years, come in. Corey Kispert, once he leaves, Julian hopefully will kind of step up into his role. But I would say those two are definitely kind of neck and neck for the best dunkers.
Okay, final question. I've watched a good amount of Gonzaga basketball this year, and my biggest takeaway is the fact that the offense is run. Obviously, there's a very big factor in the offense of the perimeter play with Kispert. Suggs has shown incredible efficiency from deep and them hard. Why do you think that this Gonzaga team, between the senior leadership and the superstardom of Suggs, is fit to win the national championship in the craziest, most absurd college basketball season in my lifetime?
So I will say this. You talk about offense. My coaching career, this is year 10. I've kind of been in the first 7 years focused on defense. That was kind of my role on Bryce's staff, and now I've been thrusted into a situation where I have to be a lot more involved on the offense side and defense. And learning has been amazing. Just seeing kind of this system, and then being able to learn it and then teach it to our guys. And if you look at our offensive numbers, I mean, last year, this year, like our offensive efficiency is like crazy. I mean, I think we might be like on the Ken Palm number 1 or top 3 for sure from an offensive efficiency ranking. So our offenses, I mean, we play fast. We have multiple weapons. We can score from multiple dimensions. I mean, not our perimeter play, but Drew Timme is one of the most efficient bigs in the country, and he's a problem on the block. So I think we have weapons, but then our style of play, our fast pace, our high scoring, I mean, our speed, running down the court in offense. I mean, I think that is something that is different. And, I have coaches always calling me like, man, how you guys play so fast, you play under control. Your system is crazy. Tell me about it. And these are coaches at other Division I programs. And it's been cool seeing just kind of what we do in practice, the preparation, like I said before, teaching our guys how to play, not really depending on what you have, but just depending on just the system and being consistent in how we play, because Gonzaga has been known in the past for having really, really dynamic bigs. Now we have good bigs, but we also have really dynamic guards. So it's kind of fun seeing how this has evolved. But then the other side is defensively. I think we're top 10 defensively in Ken Palm also. So I think we are merging the two together, and I think that's something we've been teaching all year. We want to be top 10 in offense, and we want to be top 10 in defense. And I think when you're able to do both, it gives you a chance to win in the tournament. And those are the reasons I think we have a chance to be, hopefully playing, the last weekend of the NCAA tournament.
He's the Rev. We knew him with the 2005 Illini. Roger Powell Jr., now an assistant coach for Mark Few and the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Look for him on the bench, on the sidelines. And, Coach, we are so proud of you, and we wish you nothing but the best unless you have to meet Illinois.
Hey, stop that.
Thank you so much for joining us. Seriously, it was great to catch up with you. Really good to hear from you.
Thank you so much. Good talking to you guys, too.
All right, I know you're going to love this part because now you get to make some predictions. And I have a feeling they're going to be all college basketball, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
All right, go for it.
Okay. My 3 predictions, they are all March Madness related. I hope that all 3 of them are correct, but it's pretty impossible to have a perfect bracket. So I am going to say right now that in the Final Four, we will see a mid-major team not named Gonzaga. That doesn't mean that I don't think Gonzaga is going to make the Final Four, but I have trouble classifying Gonzaga as a mid-major. So other than Gonzaga, I think that we're going to see a mid-major team in the Final Four. I mentioned earlier that the way that this tournament is set up is going to be cause for a good amount of upsets. Mid-majors might not be as strong as they were in recent years, but I think that we could have some Cinderellas. So I'm going to say that either Loyola Chicago, I know, really big, bold pick, but I'd say Loyola Chicago definitely has what it could take to make the Final Four, as well as a couple teams from the Mountain West. I could see Utah State maybe making a run. San Diego State was a team that would have been a 1 seed last year. Now they're going to be in between 6 and 10 seed range. They could make a run. Any team from the Mountain West, any team, BYU could also make a run out of the WCC. They held tight with Gonzaga throughout the entire championship game. I think that we're going to see a mid-major in the Final Four, other than Gonzaga. My second prediction is that half of the Elite Eight will be made up of Big 12 teams. The Big 12 has easily been the most top-heavy conference of the season. The seeds 1 through 7 in the Big 12 tournament are all likely going to be positive seeds, the seeds higher than 8. There are several teams in the Big 12 that, as Joel Lenardi said on ESPN yesterday, can just be interchanged without the seeding, without any debate. And those teams are, aside from Baylor, is an obvious 1 seed. Big 12 could have, realistically, all 4 of the 3 seeds in Texas, Kansas, West Virginia, and Oklahoma State. So I'm going to go out on the limb and say that half of the Elite Eight will be Big 12 teams. I really don't want to jinx this, but I'm just going to say that those teams will be Baylor, Kansas, Texas, and Oklahoma State.
All right,
so
your third prediction.
And my third and final prediction is that in the national championship game, we get the closest national championship game of all time. And for just the second time in history, we see the national championship game go to overtime. Now, I'm not going to reveal my prediction yet partially because I haven't decided who I think is going to be in the championship game. But if it's what everyone thinks it's going to be in Gonzaga and Baylor, I don't see how 40 minutes of basketball could decide the champion between those 2 teams. So I'm going to say that this year's championship game, we are going to have last year's complete flub of a tournament be avenged, and we're going to see the greatest Final Four and greatest national championship game in history. It's always mixed bag. It's always either a blowout or a close game. I'm going to say it's going to be a close game.
I like it.
The closest close game.
All right. For my final thoughts, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. There's nothing like the office pool during the NCAA tournament. Nothing like picking brackets with teams you never watched. How do you pick? Do you pick your alma mater? Everyone does. Your favorite cities? Yeah, okay. You know someone who went to that school? Yeah, maybe their nickname? Sure. Uniforms? Always. But how many people are actually in an office anymore? And who's going to run our virtual office pools? That's the thing that we are really missing out as well with the NCAA tournament and this ongoing pandemic. But we are grateful that the tournament will be run. We may not have the fun of the office or the office pool, but we can still take part. And for that, we will definitely enjoy Hoop Madness this March. All right, our thanks go to, as always, Adam Yoffe. As a new year with the same professional expertise, we thank him for everything he has done to guide the show. Also to Aldo Gandhi and the Barroom Network. It's been a great start on the new platform. Some of the best Chicago football podcasts as well as others. Check us out there on Podbean and wherever you get your audio. Jason?
And a big thank you goes out to Coach Roger Powell Jr. of the Gonzaga Bulldogs and former 2005 Illinois Fighting Illini. You can follow him on Twitter at Roger Powell Jr. And do not forget where you can find the podcast website at sportscasterandherson.com and on YouTube, on Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest too.
Thank you, everyone. Don't forget to download, subscribe, and rate our podcasts on Apple, Podbean, Google Podcasts, and wherever you may listen. Thank you to all of our 15,000 plus listens and counting. Stay safe? Yeah. Stay safe, everybody. You too, Jason. The Sportscaster and Her Son is brought to you by Electroflex, a global leader in electrical conduit for over 60 years, electrically connecting our world. And by Foot First Podiatry. It's time to get your bunion fixed with Foot First Podiatry's exclusive Sklar bunionectomy. No visual scars, no casts, no crutches, no kidding. Visit footfirst.com.